board meeting to order. Harold, would you please lead us on the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, we'll open up the public comment section of the board meeting. Please give us your name and address, and keep your comments to 5 minutes.
Richard Walder, 20 Elm Street. I want to comment tonight on the public notice that was in last Wednesday's paper by the village. I think this is the secret, what is the name of your party? Working again here. The notice was about the upcoming public hearing. It says regarding to a proposed law on parking. One paragraph says the proposed law seeks to amend the Webster Village Code 15-6-15A to provide that parking of any vehicle in the streets of the Village of Webster between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. is hereby declared unlawful between November 1st and April 1st. For the last several months, we've been hearing not that we're going to declare this illegal. It is already illegal. What we've been hearing is we're going to do away with illegality of the parking on the village street in the summertime. This notice is very deceptive as what the hearing is actually about. It only mentions that we're going to create a law to prohibit parking in the village in the wintertime. It doesn't say there was already a law that permits village parking in the wintertime. It says we're going to create one for that purpose. The current law provides no parking in the village overnight all year long. This says we're going to create one that does it in the winter. Why doesn't this tell actually what we're doing? The actual change is to eliminate the illegality of parking in the streets in the summertime. And might I say, one of my neighbors has had a car, a derelict car at the moment, parked in the street for 3 nights. And it hasn't got a ticket because he bothered to take the time to call the police, apparently, and tell them that it would be left there. But it still has been sitting in the street for 3 nights. I'm sorry, I think tonight's the 4th, isn't it? If we eliminate this all-night parking law, look forward to a lot of that parking in the street for days on end. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
He has a sign in his window.
With the car broken down?
Yeah, I guess.
And you're in favor of that, aren't you?
Mr. Elder.
Should be towed.
What do you mean? You're in favor of it, that's right. Why would it be towed?
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Again, I'm addressing you tonight because of the ongoing chaos the mayor is causing at Village Hall. I noticed that, yet again, there's an executive session scheduled for tonight about a village employee. It is rare, in fact, it's really rare, for any municipality outside of New York City to have the number of complaints and grievances, EEO actions, and civil rights actions brought against them and within the office that they allegedly manage. The public has not been informed nearly enough about these employee actions. In other places, some of this will be front page news. Here we have a mayor accused at times of discrimination in an office where complaints of discrimination have been alleged and nary a peep. But the trustees of this board should be complimented for tackling this over and over again. You have attempted to meet this challenge. However, even the 4 of you might not realize just how much time and effort you've expended. If you'll bear with me, I'll let you know. These are the dates over the last 2 years that you have devoted to specific personnel matters. 2013, October 10th, October 24th, November 26th, December 12th, December 26th, 2014, January 9th, February 13th, February 27th, March 27th, April 1st, April 24th, May 22nd, June 3rd, June 12th, June 18th, June 24th, August 28th, September 25th, October 23rd, November 4th, December 23rd, and 2015, January 22nd, February 26th, March 26th, May 28th, June 11th, June 25th, and again, it's on the agenda for tonight, July 9th. Now, on those dates I just read, you spent a significant amount of time. Think of that. And now, tonight, you will spend even more time in an employee matter, quote, to discuss the potential disciplinary action regarding a particular employee and the potential promotion or demotion of a particular employee. Your meeting took a kind of crescendo on June 11th when the board rescinded its previous motion, removed the mayor as liaison to Village Hall, and appointed Trustee Ippolito in his place. The mayor obviously needs assistance, and it is good that you provided it. It is unfortunate that you had to take the step of having the trustees intervene to make right that which is wrong at Village Hall. And lest this board be accused of simply reacting to recalcitrant or difficult employees, I'll point out that it was the mayor who wanted an executive session on March 31st, and it was the trustees that turned him down flat. It is not difficult employees creating and perpetuating these problems. It is the divisive mayor. This board has spent 28 meetings dealing with the chaos that this mayor has created. It is time for it to end, and for village employees to be assured that they will not be intimidated, yelled at, browbeaten, or bullied. Removing the mayor as liaison to Village Hall was an excellent initial action of the trustees, but I would ask the trustees to consider directing the mayor to take classes on workplace harassment and hostile work environment. With a year and a half left, the mayor can further damage the morale and work environment at Village Hall. Some simple remedies might be a good way to start to mend the damage. After all, what is the real difference between a mayor and a trustee? You all make motions, you can make motions, you introduce resolutions, you can do that, and you all attend events. Every one of you has one vote on the board, but the mayor is directed by law to manage the employees. Judging from the complaints, grievances, EEOC complaints, and civil rights action, the mayor is not managing well. And I thank this board and the trustees for taking corrective actions.
Mr. Elder?
Good evening. I'd like to further speak about the notice of the public hearing that was in the paper. Mr. Cahill, when you were on the other side of the desk, complained vehemently that you wanted more transparency in the government and in the board. Many times you spoke of how the board was keeping things from you. You ran on as the open party on transparency in government. And since you've been in office, there has been anything but transparency. I ask you time and time again, what's going on with the well fields? Nothing. We get no answers. It's ridiculous. This public hearing is the notice is completely inadequate. It does not speak of what is actually being talked about in this law that you want passed. As Mr. Walter said, it speaks only of a law that already is in the books. It's my feeling that you're trying to hide something from people. Don't look at me with silly looks. The problem is you've told the people that you're going to pass a law that already exists. You haven't told them what you're actually trying to pass. You're actually trying to pass a no parking, to allow parking on the streets overnight in the village. That's not what you've said. That's not what you've made a hearing about. I'm
I'll
sorry.
take ownership of that because I routinely do not read the public notices before they go in the paper. The village clerk submits them to the paper, and from now on, Josette, before you send that to the newspaper, please send a copy to me so I can review to make sure it's accurate before it's sent to the newspaper, okay?
Will you change it?
Yeah, at this point, this doesn't announce the
Because
correct
she
positive.
very well could have sent the right information and it could have been
Well, I'm
reported
sorry, but the right
incorrectly.
information is not in the paper. It needs to
I'm
be
agreeing
redone.
with you. I'm agreeing with you,
It needs to
sir.
be redone. I urge
Wait a minute.
board members,
First of all, I prepared the public notice. Trustee Byers came up with the proposed local law, which the local law is pretty simple. It's adding
It's an amendment.
4 words to the existing statute. Why you say it's unclear is beyond me.
it's very unclear.
What would you have had it said? You want paragraph after paragraph or something? And
I'm
it
sorry.
also says that the proposed local law is on file in the office of the village clerk. If you bother to look at what the actual local law says, it says is that section 156-15A of chapter 156 of the Webster Village Code is hereby amended to add the following at the end of the sentence, quote, between November 1 and April 1, end quote. That's the whole local law, is just to add that part. So you're right, the effect of that is to make parking overnight illegal between those
I'm sorry,
dates.
Mr. White. The effect of this notice is to tell the people that they don't have to bother with it because it already exists.
No, it doesn't.
The law that this states
Mr. Reynolds, you
actually,
don't need to yell, sir.
well,
Just
I'm sorry, Mr.
calm
White,
down.
over the last couple of years, you have been very rude to me, and I'm tired of it.
There's no need to yell.
Okay.
There's no need to.
This notice does not state what is to be proposed by that law. And excuse me, can I please talk? Thank you. You can talk afterwards. Thanks. Okay, so what this law, what this notice in effect says to the people is, you're going to pass a law that already exists. So why should I bother to take my time to come down and go to a hearing? There's no reason for it. It already exists. Now, if you say that it's going to change the parking law to allow parking overnight, which is all that had to be said, four additional words, as you said, Mr. White, that would be much more clear to the public. This should be clear to the public, and it's not.
Well, I apologize on behalf
Well,
of the
that-
Village
that's
of Webster if it was confusing to you, sir. I apologize.
But it wasn't confusing to me,
Okay.
because I was here.
Okay.
It's confusing to the people who aren't here,
Okay.
How do you
And-
know it's confusing to the people that aren't here?
because I've had people ask.
Oh,
Mr. Walter, that's enough, Mr. Walter.
I'm just wondering, did people come up to you and say
Yeah,
it's
several
confusing?
people asked me.
It doesn't say anywhere in here that that's the existing law.
But if you live in the village, you've known that that's an existing law.
That's not necessarily true.
There's signs that say that.
There's one at that end, there's one at that
Right.
end, that end, and that end, which
So
you
how
can barely,
long-
that you can barely see. And there are new residents, multitude of new residents in this village. I didn't know that overnight parking was not allowed on the street until I started coming to these meetings. It's not
Okay.
very widely known.
Well, you need to be clear in your announcements, clear enough so that it can be understood. Doesn't tell you what's going on at this hearing.
Okay, you made your point, I appreciate it, sir, but your time is up.
Well, I've been interrupted so
Well,
much,
it
I
doesn't
think I
matter,
got
you
a
have
couple
5
more
minutes,
minutes.
whether it's back and forth or not. You've
No,
made your
I'm
point
sorry.
several.
I'm gonna say
You've made
one
your
more-
point several
excuse me.
times, sir, okay? Several times.
Are you done? I'm going to finish my statement, and then I'm going to leave. I asked that the board make a change of the public hearing date and put an actual notice that is understandable in the paper.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else this evening? Yes, sir.
Bob Schlegel, 270 Colorado Drive. I live on the west side of Webster. I heard through the grapevine last month there was a walkthrough by the village of the property over by the wells with some county people. Was that right?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Has there been any discussion as to the village trying to sell that property?
Yes, there has.
Okay. Has anybody on the village board talked to any developers? Has contacted any developers?
I think one developer has expressed a
Okay.
yeah.
One of the major concerns for us who live near the bay should be the protection of the sensitive steep slopes from erosion. One of the people we spoke to several years ago from the U.S. Geological Survey, who was doing an investigation of slopes and other components of the Irondequoit Bay, told some of the BASIC group, and we belonged to BASIC back then, we haven't been very active recently because we haven't needed to, but we may have to get active again from what I've heard about this. The BASIC group, he told the BASIC group that these slopes were, as he put it, at risk. One of the points that he made, as he pointed to the forested part of the slopes, which is behind to the west side of that property, he said those trees are what tends to keep the fine sandy soil intact. Cut those trees down and you'll be in store for problems of erosion down the road. Those roots are the saviors for those hills. He also indicated that, he said, it's my belief that after the trees came down behind the Shriners building, they took the trees down many years ago. Soon after that, there was some erosion of that cliff.
What building was that, sir?
The Shriners building, the Turkish temple where the old cars go on Friday. The BASIC group has always been concerned about that neighborhood. Obviously, we're split on this because we're from the village, you're from the village, we're from the town. And the issue we have is that any development there will have to be in the character of the neighborhood. If the overlay district comes down, then any developer can, ask for variances to do other things. So we will fight any request to eliminate the overlay district in that property. Has any discussion been done between you and the town of maybe exchanging properties?
No.
Is that okay? Has any discussion been done about maybe donating that property to an environmental group, and then you could still have control of the well fields? You get a pretty hefty tax deduction if you turn that over. And then this way it can stay.
We pay no taxes on that right now, anyways.
I'm just saying, this way it can stay forever wild, and we won't have to worry about, all those, issues we're gonna have with that development. We're really concerned about, clear cutting of trees, which has been done by other developers in that area. It's one thing to do selection cutting, but it's another thing to do clear cutting. We had fought a condominium that was going to go in behind the Shriners building just north of that, and we were very successful. We were very successful with other projects that try to come into that neighborhood that were not in the character of that zoning. So we're really concerned about any impact that any development would have. And if there is any development to be done in your discussions with any developers, hopefully we can keep that overlay district and keep the zoning R2, R3. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening? Okay. Okay, well, I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting, and we'll move into board business. And the first item up we have this evening is a resolution to approve the village board meeting minutes for June 25th, 2015. Do we have any questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion in a second then.
I'll second.
Trustee Alito?
Aye.
Trustee Byers?
Aye.
Mayor Cahill?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next, we have the resolution to approve the claims and warrants. Does anyone have any questions?
I did not.
Darrell?
No, I had mine answered on Tuesday night, so I'm fine.
All right, I'll entertain a motion in a second to pay the bills then.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that.
Trustee Alito?
Aye.
Trustee Byers?
Aye.
Mayor Cahill?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, next we have a resolution to expend up to $6,500 from the West Main Street Culvert Project Reserve Fund. I'll read through this briefly. Resolution offered by the village mayor and trustees, whereas pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 6-C, the Village of Webster maintains a West Main Street Culvert Project Reserve Fund, whereas $50,000 was included in the adopted budget for the Village of Webster for deposit into the reserve fund. Whereas General Municipal Law 6C8 provides that an expenditure from a specific capital improvement reserve fund shall only be made by an authorization of the governing board of the Village of Webster. Whereas the Village of Webster wishes to retain an engineering firm to provide engineering services in order to correct the storm drainage failure on West Main Street, now therefore be resolved that the treasurer of the Village of Webster is hereby authorized to expend up to $6,500 from the West Main Street Culvert Project Reserve Fund to be used to retain the services of Marathon Engineering. The engineering firm will provide a topographical survey, hydrologic and hydraulic design, and design plans for the West Main Street Culvert Project. You know, we discussed this at the,
We did. Could I ask, Jake, would you please just briefly,
there's no such thing.
as brief as
Good luck.
you can
You had to open that door, didn't you?
Yeah, 5 minutes, that's it.
All right.
Just let everybody know what we talked about and what this is about.
Yeah, so there's a culvert pipe on, or it's not even a pipe, it's a culvert that's stacked stone over on West Main Street that drains a considerable portion of the west side of the village and some other lands beyond. That had collapsed about 3 years ago in one section of it. We made an emergency repair to that. Now we're looking at shoring up the rest of it, making sure that it's good for the long haul. We were considering, a replacement kind of in kind, not necessarily, stone again for the rest of it, or even shoring that up, but originally shotcrete or a different technology or different approach to it. When we started looking at the pipes, we wanted to make sure if we did put a smooth pipe in there and it was a different size, we thought at this point it's perhaps a little bit late, but I guess better late than never. And we wanted to make sure we got an engineer. We're affecting the pipe sizes there, even though I think the friction loss is going to be way better on the new pipe. It's going to be a lot better project. We want to make sure we get a pipe in there that's going to be sufficient size, but try to keep the job as cost effective as possible. And we thought the engineering behind it would give us, do our due diligence and get them to look at it from that side and some of the studies and some of the engineering that they're going to put into it. So,
Thank you.
it's about 3% of the total project cost. And I reserve the rest of my 4.5 minutes for later.
So,
Better.
this is tied into number 6 on the agenda.
Right.
So maybe you should.
We are
do that
going,
one
I'm going,
immediately after this one.
I am. I'm not doing 5 tonight.
Well, you got 4 in between also, since you're on.
I'm skipping that one too. Just kidding. All right, do I have a motion and a second to expend the money?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Trustee Byers?
Aye.
Trustee Alito?
Aye.
Mayor Cahill?
All right.
Motion passes.
All right, next is an authorization for Will Byram to sign the agreement with the Marathon Engineers for the Main Street Culvert Replacement and Channel Restoration. Do I have a motion and a second for Will to sign the agreement, please?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Alito,
Aye.
Trustee Byard,
Aye.
Mayor Cahill,
Aye.
motion passes.
One thing I just want to point out real fast is that
I just got through it.
4.5 minutes left. Yeah, the Marathon Engineering quote was 5,500. I asked Don when he was doing the resolution, make it 6,500 in case something else pops up. My expectation is going to be not to exceed 5,500, but I wanted to make sure without having to come back to the board again in case something popped up. We needed a little bit of leeway in there that we'd have that ability to if we had to make a field call or a field decision,
Right.
we'd have that option there. So I don't expect it to be more than that 5,500 in reality.
Okay, thanks, Jay. Next is a resolution to approve and endorse the Webster Economic Development Alliance and its application to New York State Homes and Community Renewal for funding under the New York State Main Street Program. So I'm going to read through this. This is funding of monies available for downtown businesses to improve their buildings, and also if they have apartments also, there's funding money available. So Matt Chatfield, if we authorize it, will be sending this grant application in. A number of businesses have expressed their interest in this. So whereas the Webster Economic Development Alliance desires to apply for $495,000 in financial assistance through the 2015 Consolidated Funding Application under the New York Main Street Program, and whereas the application proposes funding to assist property owners to complete building renovations to downtown Main Street buildings and on East and West Main Streets between Pierce and Dunning Avenue, and adjacent properties on North and South Avenues. And whereas the proposed funding will contribute to the ongoing community revitalization efforts, and where the grant application requires that the applicant obtain the approval and endorsement of the governing body of the municipality in which the project will be located. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Webster approves and endorses the 2015 New York Main Street Program for assistance prepared and to be submitted by the Webster Economic Development Alliance.
I was at the meetings, and I know that there are a number of businesses that are interested in this. I certainly have no objection to pursuing the grant.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I'd make a motion to accept this resolution.
I'll second it.
Trustee Byard,
Aye.
Trustee Alito,
Aye.
Mayor Cahill,
Aye.
motion passes.
Look for a positive outcome on that application. Okay, I'm going to go down to number 7. Resolution to approve no parking signs on both sides of Sanford Street from the Fireman's Carnival Field to South Avenue during the carnival on July 15th through 19th. This is the same thing we did last year. They require a resolution for the board so that the fire department can put the signs up for the no parking, so that there's safe egress and egress in those areas should there be an emergency during the Fireman's Carnival. You want to read this?
No.
Do you?
Your voice is so
You
great.
can tell Jake wrote it.
I know.
Why?
Is the date wrong?
Very wordy.
I can tell that he wrote it because my name is spelled wrong.
I just copied and pasted it.
I know you copy and paste that.
I probably spelled mine wrong too.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
Go for it, huh?
Yeah. You're a team player.
Yeah. Whereas pursuant to New York Vehicle and Traffic Law, Section 1640, the village board has the authority to adopt local laws regulating traffic upon village highways, and whereas by previous resolution, the village board of trustees of the Village of Webster enacted local laws with respect to the restriction of parking upon certain village streets, which are included in Chapter 156 of the Code of the Village of Webster, and whereas included in Article 3 of Chapter 156 of the Code of the Village of Webster in Section 156.15b, which provides parking is prohibited on spaces and zones on the streets of the village as may be indicated by suitable signs erected by the village authorities. And whereas a request has been made to the village to temporarily restrict parking along both sides of Sanford Street commencing on 12 a.m. on July 15, 2015, and ending at 12 p.m. on July 19, 2015. And whereas this request has been made to aid in public safety, to preserve emergency ingress and egress to the Webster Fireman's Field during the time of the annual Fireman's Carnival, and whereas the village agrees that in the interest of public safety and to promote safe ingress and egress to the carnival grounds, a temporary no parking zone shall be established along Sanford Street. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Webster as follows. 1, that the Village of Webster Board of Trustees hereby establishes a temporary no parking zone along both sides of Stanford Street for the dates and times established above. 2, that the Superintendent of Public Works is hereby directed to install or allow to be installed any signage necessary to identify and delineate the additional no parking areas. And 3, that this temporary no parking zone shall have no effect upon any no parking zones previously established upon Sanford Street.
Thank you, Trustee Byers. I'll entertain a motion in a second.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Alito?
Aye.
Trustee Byers?
Aye.
Mayor Cahill?
Aye.
Motion passes.
At least this one that I read passed.
You did, you flew through that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next we have authorization to fund HSA accounts for Christine Lizak, Brandon Voltaire, in the amounts of $2,206.02 each. So I'll entertain a motion in a second for that, unless anybody has any questions.
Are we doing this now because it's the anniversary dates for both of them, basically?
Brandon is a new hire, and there's only 6 months left in the year,
Okay.
so that's why it's,
How about Christine's, her anniversary date's not till
no, she
October.
just decided to,
Pardon?
she just decided to go on to the insurance.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Be better if you indicated that one.
I was just saying, it's not really clear as to why they're on there.
Well, I understand Brandon because he's a new hire.
Yeah, Christine was a little
He's electing
confusing.
to do it, so I understand that. So,
So I'll entertain a motion in a second to,
I'll make
Fund
that
these
motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Byers?
Aye.
Trustee Alito?
Aye.
Mayor Cahill?
aye.
Motion passes.
Don, you have anything for us this evening?
Well, only in light of this evening's public comments regarding the allegedly confusing notice of the public hearing on the no parking. If the board desires, since it wasn't to occur till, the hearing's not till July 23rd, the public notice, the law requires a 5-day notice. So there's still time if you wanted to publish a supplemental notice of public hearing in order to clear up any confusion. You could add a sentence that just says something like, parking between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. is presently unlawful year-round. Even though that's not part of the local law, but I guess that's the, so people can see the difference between presently what's in effect and what is being proposed.
I don't have a problem with that.
I haven't read
I haven't seen the public notice at all.
it came out today, and so
There you
Well,
go.
this is the proposal.
Last week.
It was in last week's
I
presentation.
don't think the Webster Herald, and I
It wasn't
don't
last
really
week,
pay
it wasn't
for
presented this week.
We
But,
approved it.
well, this is what was published. Obviously, what I added.
This was
in pen-
published?
This is
Yeah,
what
so
was
that-
published. What I added in pen is what I just, we could publish with, a supplemental notice and just add this. Before I
And the only
only.
thing we had was here, between November 13th. Okay.
Right.
It should say that it
Yeah,
will
we
allow
heard.
public,
We heard.
public to park on the streets during the summer.
rather
Proposed law
than
seeks
beating
to
around
amend
the
the village
bush.
code.
That's not the way the
15A.
law is
Let's not do this
proposed.
again. Let's not do this again,
Right.
please.
Okay, well, we can.
Provide that parking of
Consider
any
it.
vehicle in the streets of the village of Webster between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6
The
a.m.
law
is here
should
to
be made
provide
clear whether it's what's required or not.
between November. Parking between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6
Lawyers out of
a.m.
business.
Hey, Mr. Walter, that's not necessary. It really isn't, okay? Parking between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. is presently unlawful year-round. He wants to add that. Why don't you just, you want to take a look at that and see if that's something that, I understand what it means, but if it's confusing someone, we have time to put it in, why not? Sure. Juliet, if you could just.
So you have to take a resolution.
Okay. We'll do that. Are you okay with that change? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion in a second to republish the public hearing for the proposed law, parking law change, with a verbiage that Attorney White has provided. Josette, if we pass it, you make sure that that gets put in the paper.
Absolutely.
So I'll entertain a motion in a second to have it republished with some clarifying verbiage in it.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Polito?
Aye.
Trustee Byers?
Aye.
Mayor Cahill?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Oh, the other thing, you removed the item number 5. What exactly are the concerns about this service agreement?
I want to read through this one and compare it to the other one. That's
Okay.
That's what I want to do.
Just looking at this thing, where it's, where it has the term, says, the term shall continue for either a 1-year term or the maximum cycles, whichever occurs first. Nowhere in here does it define what the heck the maximum cycle is. I don't know what that is.
Right.
It says it shall renew in either annual terms or the maximum cycles, whichever occurs first, but I don't know what the maximum cycles are. So maybe, it looks like Carol is the one that,
Right. Well, it says if the machine is leased, the annual contract cannot be terminated and must be active for the term of the lease, including renewal periods. There's just a few things in here that I just
I
cruising through.
understand
A
that,
year
but I
or
just
the
don't
maximum
understand what.
cycles, which is.
I don't
right there
understand
on the
what
top.
maximum cycle is.
63.
I don't know, it's 63 months.
Yeah,
I'm
63
presuming,
months.
which is 5.25 years.
If you look at the original lease term, it's at the top of the paper.
So is that what the maximum cycle is?
Yeah,
63?
that's the whole agreement.
Well,
So either 1 year or the term of the
Where it
cycle.
says, the box where it says maximum cycles for paragraph 2, and the one I have is blank. It doesn't say anything there.
This one does not say anything.
right.
This one?
Yeah, look at the box up on the
Up
upper
on the
right,
top.
where it says maximum cycles, it's got nothing there.
Right, but it also has the term
Original
of
lease term,
63 months.
Then it says the original lease term, 63. What was that, 63 days, months, years? It doesn't say 63 what?
That's-
63 seconds? I don't know what that is.
Are the cycles the number of uses
So,
of the postage machine?
I don't know what that means. So it's a little unclear what the term is.
Right,
So-
which is why I didn't even go in over this
Yeah, so
evening.
I think
I
someone
want to
needs
see
to, someone
both of
needs to
them.
call this company and have them clarify things and perhaps issue a new service agreement.
I concur. Anything else, John?
No?
Josette?
Well, Jake, do you want to go over this? Overtime report?
You know, if there's any questions on it at all.
I don't know.
with that?
Yeah. Was that Kevin Flork had 4 hours overtime?
Yes.
What was that for?
He called in for something, Jonathan?
No, there's call-ins there, he's got 6.5 hours of call-in for the alarms, and I made notes on this when I first saw it, and I failed to bring the notes with me, so I can email those out.
All right.
Explanation of those in the morning.
How often do those alarms, it seems to me that those alarms are an issue.
They're probably the worst environment you can, you know, outside and above some flows that you don't want me to describe right now.
I've seen it.
Yeah, they're in a pretty tough environment. Obviously, the things are built for that. But they get alarms. In fact, they just replaced, I think part of the bill paid tonight was a repair bill for the installation of a new sensor. They had to get a new sensor. There were some checks down there. A repair cycle, they had to stop down and do some checks because the influent alarm wasn't operating properly. And the influent alarm, the high influent alarm is going to tell you if, you know, say, and they've had it before, a root ball came through, something just dislodges and comes through under our headworks of the plant and plugs up the flow. There's bypass channels in that, but depending on what time or what kind of flow or experience at the time, it charge up really fast. That influent alarm is going to send this call out and send a signal to the dialer. The dialer starts calling everybody out to go down and check the plant. And when that alarm, or when that influent sensor, that flow sensor was not working, then you've got to go down there and do some checks and make sure that the plant's in good shape a lot more frequently. Usually, you know, it's normally follows, you know, extra heavy rains, like kind of what we've been having if there's an issue like that, but it's, you know, certainly prudent to go down there and check. But I'll do a little more research and find my other notes and send this out because I didn't have it with me this evening.
I see Jim Clancy at 3 hours.
Yes.
No.
Nope. I'm not sure if that was a tree down or a tree or call in for something. There's overtime and then there was
Okay.
a call in one, so.
Yeah, this is the overtime one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna double check these guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions other than that.
And then the financials, statements from May 2015, and these are all with all the corrections from Christina for the budget transfers and modifications that we've been doing and you've been approving. So this is what the final looks like now.
Well, these aren't,
From,
did you talk to Christine today about this report? Because these are not the final numbers.
well, the auditor is still here.
Pardon?
The auditor is.
No, I'm talking about the numbers for this report.
She said that.
I know, but you just said that these are the final numbers.
Okay.
They're not.
They're not.
The final
No, they're not.
one.
Why, what else is being changed?
She's got a few more things that she wants another couple weeks, probably till the next meeting in July, just in case there's anything else out there floating. So you and Christine should have a little chat before the meeting, so you both are on the same page. I mean, these are close, real close, but she just wanted a couple more,
More things.
one more meeting just to make sure if there's any other bills out there floating are reflected in this, the year-end report. But it does reflect all the budget adjustments that
Everything
they
we've done
made.
up to
Yeah,
this point.
absolutely does, yep. So I didn't have any questions on it. Do you have any questions? Carol?
No, I've been keeping up with it all.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion in a second to accept the statement of expenditures and encumbrances for the period ending 5/31/2015.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Byers?
Aye.
Trustee Abolito?
Aye.
Mayor Cahill?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Jake?
Just real quick, obviously the work on Main Street, North and South Avenue is a bit disruptive, but I do want to, send my appreciation. I think a lot of people's appreciation of the DOT, and Keeler is the firm that they hired to do that work. They've been working real well with all the businesses and staying in contact with us and trying to make sure people have access into places and it's minimally disruptive. They've been real good with, there's one funeral home here, and obviously they can't schedule their work too far in advance. And so we've been in contact with them, and they've letting us know, and they've been working with everybody really great. I mean, considering the amount of work they're doing and everything out there, so I appreciate everybody's patience. I'm trying to act as a liaison with them. One of the things usually Fridays is when we get an update. I'm going to hand that off to Carol, try to start making a little adjustments. They're still on the edge work, but we'll give some general, hey, this is the area that they're going to be working in now. It's a little too tough to get too specific with it.
Jake, sorry. I'm getting pounded with questions every time I step outside my door of the carnival and the parade and how that's going to be affected. There's a lot of large holes and divots, and people are concerned. So I just want to know if you know anything about that.
Yeah, we actually, the fire district, we were discussing the interruption to the front apron here at the firehouse. But the fire district and the gentleman involved with the parade from the fire department, myself and the state DOT, all met over at the firehouse about 2.5, 3 weeks ago now, and discussed that very thing. They were even considering at that time if they were going to adjust the route or anything, but they assured everybody that they're going to have it. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be done for sure, but they're going to have it is safe, similar to what they had on West Main Street. They're going to get as far as they can, and then have everything where there is holes or voids or things that they're working on, have those secured off and have pathways through. When they first started pulling sidewalks out on West Main Street, especially up here in the business district, I had a call from the bid and that they were having a wine walk this evening. And we talked to the bid constantly. We met with the bid early on in the process too, and talked about all the events that they were having, and the wine walk didn't come up. And so he's like, hey, they were having a wine walk tonight, and the sidewalk's all torn up, and it was about 2:30, I think, in the afternoon. So I called up the contractor and just passed it along to them. They had little ramps down, they had stone. Kind of, again, it's not the prettiest thing. They had it roped off, had barrels around, and had places where it was very obvious for people to go through and walk through, and I think it all went off without a hitch. So I expect they'll do the same thing down on that end, and they expressed that they would. So yeah, next year is going to be a real pretty parade, I think. This year is going to be a work in progress. They're not expecting to do any more milling in the road before that time. So the edge milling that's there now that they did in anticipation, try to set some slopes in anticipation of some of the gutter or the curb work there is all that they're going to have done right now. But that's another thing with the notifications. Once they start doing some more mainline milling and things that are going to be real disruptive to traffic. Now we're cutting down a couple lanes, and we're cutting it down to one lane sometime and moving people over and shifting. But once they start doing milling and paving operations, they're going to disrupt things even more. They're going to start they have signs on the outskirts of the village. They have them down, Phillips Road, I think it's almost to Holy Trinity, back near AutoZone or somewhere in that area. I remember Canandaigua National Bank, I think, on the corner, and North and South Ave as well. They're going to start utilizing them, and we're going to put that same message out on our website, too, for people to look at. We did have the discussion and the thought of linking our website, sending a link to the DOT's website, because they have the projects there, and they update it monthly, they said, but the DOT's website right now still has them paving, I think, between Gravel and Barrett, so that's what they finished last year. So it's a long month, I guess. So we're going to try to give updates based on what our conversations are and put those out and then try to match what they're doing.
Well, I appreciate you having the conversation and passing that information on to not only to Carol so she can put up on her website, but also to the bid, because I know Robin sends out emails. She forwards the information that you pass on to her. So, thank you very much for doing that. And I absolutely agree with what you're you're saying with respect to the contractor, and, you know, they've done a phenomenal job. I've heard from at least 6 different business owners that were very surprised at how fast they've gotten this done. I was over at Billy's at Sun Automotive, and he's like, I can't believe how much work they've gotten done already. And, you know, they work very, very well with the business owners and anybody that has concerns. They did a great job out here during the wine walk, as you said, prepping to make sure, you know, they had the crushing run down so that, you know, it was easy to walk through. But, you know, everybody's very, very pleased with the DOT and the contractors, and it's been that way since we first met with the DOT. Very receptive to changes that we had, and, you know, they obviously selected a great contractor and is doing a great job so far. So
yeah, I'm real pleased with how it's going. I was just quite apprehensive when the state's coming in doing a big job like that, but
yeah,
it's going really nice.
Jake, I have one question. Right on the northwest side of the Four Corners, they put in a new sidewalk. And the angle, the pitch of that as it comes up, comes from flat to kind of a angle towards the road. Is there a reason why they did that?
Try to shed the water off towards the road, get it into the curb where the storm structures are to take care of it. It's pitched that way. I think you're talking near the art stop on that side.
That corner?
Yeah. Yep.
Right by their entrance to the lower level, to the basement.
I think there was some challenges with grade in those areas. I could certainly talk to the engineer and see, try to get a better understanding of exactly why. I know they're trying to keep the curb, as much curb reveal as they can have, but sometimes, in fact, in front of Barry's here on the corner, they were hoping to have the curb, some more elevation on the curb. Once they get done, it's still going to be a little lower. It's not going to have quite as much as they were hoping to get, simply because the door threshold at Barry's is at an elevation that they get a minimum pitch on it, only about 1% or something, they said, and they can't put the curb any higher because then they don't want the water flowing back in. We almost had that one night, I understand.
Did they just raise the building a little bit?
That's why I told them, they just raised the door up, and but they figured it was easier just to drop the curb a little. But yeah, there was, and I'm glad you mentioned that area real quick. Up near the Veterans Park, also there's getting that sidewalk back down a little bit and putting some tree lawn in that area to kind of match what they're doing on the other side. You're closing up at the request of the business owner in that. The entrance,
Smith?
as they're going by Smith's, yeah, Smith Insurance there, where there's a little bit of a tree lawn area in between there. And going to carry that same over on the other side. And I think it'll look real nice when they're through there. And again, you know, I'm not going to argue with new sidewalks ever.
No.
It's very nice.
I just hope we don't see the spray paint from the different utility companies on all this brand new sidewalk.
Oh, it'll be there, I'm sure, soon.
Any way to somehow keep trucks from cutting that corner? I mean, I really noticed when they came in and put dirt and graded that small area down through there. And it's probably the reason why it's never had grass. But within a day, there were tracks going right through it, you know. I just don't know how we can keep them from going over the edge.
It's such a tight area, and especially if there's nobody in the turn lane, you know, if on, you know, eastbound lane on West Main Street at the Four Corners, if there's no one in that turn lane, a car or a truck coming up generally will swing out pretty wide and clear it. But if there's someone in the turn lane, it's I think it's very, very tough.
Nothing you can do.
Yeah, it's very tough.
Hopefully
Tractor trailer
there'll
for
be
8 years,
grass
there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Turf.
Oh, it is, yeah. Yep. But I also just wanted to mention real quick, also this year's paving, we're going to be doing Fuller Avenue, doing gutters down Fuller Avenue between Dunning and London. Also, Harmon Street, we're going to be million paving that, just a little bit of gutter replacement, excuse me, and then Barrett Drive. Barrett Drive, obviously, we're going to wait till the state's going by and tie into what they're doing, because they're going probably about, I think about 75 feet up Barrett or 100. So we're going to tack onto that and go to the right-of-way line for 104 up past the post office. So it'll be, we're sending notifications out now or delivering notifications to the Fuller Ave residents, but there's only about, I think, 4 driveways, 4 or 5 driveways are gonna be impacted there. So I'll try to shore that up and do the, around the intersection at Curtis as well. We've taken Lincolnshire off right now, because we have a funding source. We did some patching there, and we'll look at doing Lincolnshire next year, and getting that, and hopefully be able to capitalize on that funding that we have, and be available for that, so. I think that's it. Oh, and I just heard, the playground equipment, the replacement playground equipment, a few meetings back, authorize the expense out of that Parks and Rec reserve. That should be delivered the first week in August right now is the tentative schedule, with the contractor expected to take the delivery of that. So, you know, depending if we continue with monsoon season, I think it's might bump things back a little bit, but hopefully it'll dry up there or dry up a bit, and we'll be able to get in there and get those things replaced as well.
So if the contractor is scheduled to take delivery of that, has he tentatively scheduled an installation date with you yet?
No, we're working through Game Time where we're getting it from. It's one of the certified installers. That's going to be right after the delivery. What I'm trying to do is have the contractor accept the product, do the delivery so they can inspect it and accept everything and make sure, because frankly, until you go to put it together, you might not even be able to, some of the parts are supposed to be met, you know, so unless you're do it all day, every day, you know, it might look funny to you, but it might be just how it's supposed to be. So I'd like to have them there, and then you know, delivery rate immediately following. So once we get, and we're pretty close now, but once we get a little bit closer, then we're going to get in, our crews are going to go through and remove the existing equipment and some of the things, and then they're going to come through and install them. They install those, and the padding and everything, of the engineered wood fiber, they call it, the expensive mulch that goes underneath it. So and hopefully we'll still have some time left this year for the little kids to play in some new playground.
What are the engineering trees?
I don't know. I think in California somewhere. That's it.
Thank you, Jake. All right, now we'll open up the phone lines. If anyone would like to call in, the number to call is 265-3772. Any announcements there?
The Friday night Music in the Park begins tomorrow night. The All Terrain Blues Band begins the concert season on Friday nights. So I believe probably about 7 o'clock, I would imagine, something like that for the concert. Next Tuesday, the movies in the park begin, and the movie The Lorax, I believe, is scheduled to be shown. So be sure to be there. Popcorn.
Good evening. Thanks for calling. Can I have your name, please?
Intelligent people understood your parking notice.
Thank you. Village Band, still, they're playing on Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock. If you have an opportunity, please take advantage of it. Do you know about Saturday? The Wellfields? Do you want to say anything about that or no?
I don't know very much about it. No.
Okay. I'll leave that one alone then. You have anything? Good evening. Thanks for calling. Could I have your name, please?
Yes, it's Lori Reynolds, 138 Judson Street. I would also like to comment on the Webster Village land down by the bay that the water wells are on. Mr. Mayor, negotiations are taking place to sell that land to a developer. I hope you are considering the long-term effects. Selling the land may be a quick fix to balance the budget. 1 year, maybe 2 years, but whereas if the water was sold ongoing from the wells, the village would have income coming in indefinitely. Considerations need to be made to these areas of concerns if the land is sold to develop more homes. First of all, there'll be much more erosion. from the construction, you know, from trees being felled. Number 2, natural animal habitats will be gone, allowing more wildlife in residential areas. And number 3, much more traffic, possibly another 150 to 200 cars a day commuting in that area. And I'm sure that there are many more concerns that could be brought up if that happens. I hope this won't be a quick decision without looking at all the long-term effects, like it was with the village water going to Monroe County Water. I know the village taxpayers would not like to pay for another lawsuit because you want to remove the overlay district on the land in order to sell. Please take all this into consideration, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well,
Thought she was done. I apologize, I thought you were done. If you'd like to call back, please feel free. Anybody else have any announcements this evening? Next village board meeting will be July 23rd at 7:30, and the next village workshop will be August 4th at 7 o'clock. This time I'll entertain a motion and a second to close the village board meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Polito?
Aye.
Trustee Byers?
Aye.
Mayor Campbell?
Aye.